Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Juanita Maharani as a moderator for this session. So today I'm pleased to have a chance to introduce to you Miss Fina Rahmatul Jaliilah. Today she will be speaking about the importance of education for the growth of human being. Fina will be happy to answer any question and accept any feedback from you may have at the end of her talk. So let's uh, welcome Miss Fina Rahmatul Jaliilah, and time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Juanita Maharani, for the time. Okay, today I want to share and tell you about education. Is education important for us? According to Mahatma Gandhi, education is an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man body, mind, and spirit. Education gives us a definite path to follow, to lead our lives by principles, and gives us the freedom of expression. It's the process of achieving knowledge, values, skills, and moral habits. Education is very necessary for each and everyone in order to improve of living as well as social and economic status throughout the life. It frees our minds from the prejudice and motivates us to think with logic and reasonable, so that when we speak, we have the basis and will not be random in speaking. Education is the key to success in the future and to have many opportunities in our life. So this is the importance of education for the growth of human being. The first is giving knowledge. The implementation of education gives results not far from providing knowledge, whether it is already known or new knowledge. We will previously knew will become known through education. From that, then we will be able to determine what we don't like and what we like related to our talent. If we know our talents and interests, then it will be close to realizing and pursuing our dream. The second is enhance creativity and imagination. Too many branches of education require someone to be proficient in every field. It will increase one's creativity and imagination. Creativity in this case is how they can solve a problem through the thought and solution that are in their minds. Creativity is not always about art, but also about skills. And in the end, it will increase our inner value. The third is opportunity to contribute to society. There are many activities in the world of education which will more or less help many people. So there is nothing to lose for us to take serious steps in world of education. If we are concerned with education, then we will be contribute to creating better human resources. This will create a good environment and society. The third is character building. The difference between educated and uneducated people lies in this point, namely their character or attitude. Education is useful for producing individuals who don't ignore social values such as tolerance, responsibilities, and others, so that a person with superior character is created. With education, a person will have good emotion intelligence. When we take education, that is where our characters is formed. We will get various knowledge that will tell us which one is right and which one is wrong. Having education help us teach other morals, manners, and ethics in our society. It will form a firm attitude to ourselves and our personality will develop. The five is having a good character. Sometimes people say education is very important for our future. Indeed, a person's success is not only seen from education, but be seen from the skills and ability that we have. The success achieved will be in accordance with a person's education or ability in his career. The level of education may be important to bring about future success. Why is education so important? Because education is a basic need for many companies that will accept someone to work according to their level of education. Many companies will accept job applicants with a higher education levels. If someone's education is high, they will get a job that matches their education. And on the other hand, if a person's education is low, there will be a fewer doors open a better career. If we start from a good education, a good career will follow us, but also back to each individual. If she or he wants to fight, then a good career will still come to them. The last is help the nation progress to contribute a bigger growth. This education is one way for the growth and development of a country. Research and development in sectors like technology, medicine, and others, breakthrough innovation and progressive mindset, all of these are fruits and education which take a nation and its people forward. Educated people contribute towards advancement in every sector, and it will make a bigger growth for a country. There's a sentence that I always hold from Oprah Winfrey, American host. Education is the key to unlocking the world, a passport of freedom. I believe that education is one of the paths we must take for a better life. I am Fina, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fina. Well, that's an excellent presentation by Ms. Fina. Now it's time for the audience to ask question or give suggestions. So please raise your hand and identify yourself before asking questions or giving suggestion or feedback. Okay, Rizki Muhammad, you can tell your question or suggestion.
Hey, my name is Riski Ramadhani. I will give feedback from your material. I agree with your material. I think education is very important, and especially for the future concerning future careers, talent, character building. And I think the most important thing is that education is very important to form a good character in contribute in the future for the nation. I think that's all for.
Thank you for the feedback, Mr. Rizky. Is it another audience want to express your suggestion or not? If there is no question or suggestion, let's close this session. And thank you for everyone for attending this presentation session. And thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. So at this good moment, our friends Juanita Maharani will share to us about global education. For Juanita Maharani, times is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Juanita Maharani Putri. I am a student of English Department, Universitas Negeri Malang. So, today I would like to tell about global education, which is considered as the important thing this past decade. So the first one I would like to tell is what is globalization, and then what is global education, and then the correlation between global education and globalization. And then the next is the advantages of studying global education. And the last is how to apply it in class. So after this presentation, I hope you will get more explanation about global education and eager to learn about it more. So as we already know that globalization has spread massively throughout the world. Yeah, do you know what globalization is? Globalization is the process through which ideas, knowledge, information, goods, and services move easily across borders. Because of the globalization, the world has been growing quickly and we need to adapt it. You can see that our life now is much better because of the technology and knowledge people have. If we cannot adapt to this situation, for sure, we will be left behind. Like if I could illustrate it, it's a lot people already have guns, they are armed, but meanwhile we don't have anything on hand. We are unarmed. So in order to adapt effectively to this situation, we need to have education. Through education, we can empower ourselves to be ready that adaptation. Education will propose us better and wider knowledge. And then one of the education that will help you to adapt globalization is global education. So there is a correlation between globalization and global education. So global education will help you to adapt to globalization because we are now is global citizen, right? So have you heard about global education or maybe familiar with it? Okay, so global education is an incorporate learning about the culture, geographic, histories, and current issues of all around the world. This is necessary. This is necessary because we cannot deny that our lives are becoming global because of the globalization that I have mentioned before. So by learning global education, there are many advantages we will get. Next slide, please. The first one is we can have engagement to the real world issues and activities. We can know how this issue happens, why, and what is the effect to the people or country itself. From that, it doesn't contribute in our academic development, but also our social emotionally. We know that there are many cultures around the world, so in order to connect with them, we can develop our social awareness, including empathy, appreciating diversity, respecting others, and build a relationship with them through communication. The next advantage is through global education, we have opportunity to understand the diversity of cultures, people, and perspectives. So it will increase our chance to work in global companies that require the employees to have cross-cultural skills that allow them to work in diverse teams and clients around the world. And then the fourth or the last one is by learning global education, we can influence people to do something positive and helpful. Once you know why this certain issue happens and what the impact to people, you will find a solution to change or at least help them through fundraising, campaigns, projects, programs, and so on and so forth. So how do the students get this global education? Actually, they can get this global education in classroom or in organization for kids and global education. For in classroom, we know that this is not available in our recent curriculum, right? So as the soon-to-be teacher, we can learn about it now and apply it to our teaching plan in the future. If you want to be a teacher, of course. So according to a recent study of teachers at the University of Missouri in a graduate program with a global teaching focus, The effective way to introduce global education is talking about the current issues or activities that happened or have been being a trending topic on internet while we are learning some material. So it can raise the students' curiosity and they will start learning about it. In the end, they can get a concept of diversity and global leadership, which are the main concepts of global education. So the main point I have tried to convey is the outcome of this global education, which is important in this globalization era. The outcome is to prepare students have the skills to engage the larger world, appreciate different cultures, and be successful and responsible global citizens. Through global education, hopefully we can adapt to this globalization easily and live happily with others. That's all from me. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Juanita Maharani. And now for the audience, maybe you want to deliver some feedbacks or deliver some questions. All right, Fina, Rahmatul.
Yes, thank you, the moderator. I will give some feedbacks for Juanita Maharani. I agree with the benefits of global education that Juanita Maharani has mentioned. Indeed, we don't need to doubt that when we prioritize education, there will be benefits come to us. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
All right, Fina, thank you for your feedbacks. And thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to have the chance to introduce you to my partner, Mr. Fahrizal Yoga Utama, who will present the topic that discuss about the presence of e-sport in the world of education. So now, time is yours.
All right, thank you, Ferlanda. So at this good moment, let me, Fahrizal Yoga Utama, discuss with you about a controversial topic entitled The Presence of e-sport in the World of Education. But before we go to my presentation, I would like to explain a little bit about what is e-sport. So, esports, also known as electronic sports, is a form of competition which using video games. So, esports often takes the form of organized multiplayer video game, which particularly between professional players, individual or as team. The most common video games that associated with esport are multiplayer online battle arena or MOBA and first shooter person or FPS. All right. As we know, recently there are so many rumors which say that esport will be included in one of the extracurricular activities at school. Of course, this invites a lot of pros and cons. Many people support it, but not a few who reject it. So I myself try to be as objective as possible in this case by looking from two different point of view. So here some news about sport. Sports will enter school extracurriculars, and the second is PBISE, wants to make esports an extracurricular at school. So from the cons point of view, I cannot deny those who say that esport may bring some negative effects because if esports are using video games, it may make students more addicted in playing video games, and this can be a root of the other problems. It can also lead the students become lazier to study and make them negligent of their obligations as students. And the another problem is about the gadget addiction by the presence of e-sport in the extracurricular activities can make students more difficult to keep away from gadgets. In fact, one of the goals of schools nowadays is to educate students to be able to control themselves from the influence of gadgets. And one more, the negative impact as the result of the previous problem is students are increasingly unstable in controlling their emotions. Uh, one of the reliable site, hellodoc.com, explains that connection between video games and emotional activities, where video games can trigger that younger's temper. This is because playing video game can make them more ambitious in achieving score, and if they fail, it would rise their temper. But apart from the negative points, sport also has some positive sides. Sport can be a place for students to train and rise their talents in playing video games. And it is not possible and it is not impossible that students can make an achievements in the game world, and also it can be a place for students to show their talents, their skill. In fact, there are many prestigious tournaments that students can participate in through this sport event. Of course, it will really help students to express their interest, and via esports extracurricular, students may get help uh, to develop their skills, and so they can win the competitions easier. And well, I think that's all that I can deliver to you. I do apologize if there is any mistake for me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for Mr. Fahrizal, because you have give us a very interesting topic, which is about presence of esport in the world of education. And based on your speaker, I would like to give a summarize regarding to the topic that he has give to us. And the summary is: the presence of esport in the world of education bring two sides of impact, positive and negative, to student. And therefore, all of those things could, if it's wise happens, and I think it will be beneficial to students if to possess to to do what they like to do in the education terms. And yeah, so now is the Q&A section. Is there's any question from the audience maybe? All right, Juanita, you shall, you may ask the question or give a feedback. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Juanita Maharani Putri. So I want to give my comment about this person of esport in the world of education. So it's true that the presence of esports in the world of education is bring the pros and cons in the social. So I think playing esports or games is not as bad as people think, as long as the students can manage time better between playing and education they should do. So yeah, I think it esports can be the next extracurricular activity in the school. Thank you.
You're welcome, Juanita. And is there any question or feedback that probably you will be shared to us, guys? All right, I think there is no feedback or question that you want to share with us. And all right, this is the last part of this this speech. And thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, my friend Ferlanda Firdaus Ansahar will deliver his presentation about the topic is about the importance of interesting in learning. So, Ferlanda, time is yours.
All right, thank you, Rizki Dwi. And all right, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ferlanda Firdaus Ansahar from English Department, State University of Malang. For this occasion, I would like to explain the topics, which is about the importance of interesting in learning. Learning, we often hear that word, don't we? Moreover, with our current identity as student who majoring in education, that word may no longer be a form that needs to be used as a center point of a formal and informal discussion, or even in a conversation. Because for some of us, we might think that learning is a mandatory activity. In fact, learning is not only about gaining knowledge that we could use in the future. Learning is more like how somebody can feel a satisfaction with the knowledge they obtain from from the process of the understanding the knowledge itself. And that satisfaction actually is not generally owned by most of people. It is undeniable that probably some of us who are students majoring in education feel that we do not have that sense of satisfactions in the learning process, because we only rely on certain viewpoint that learning is merely an activity that is mandatory to do, and it's only to represent us and as education students. That's a pity, isn't it? That the interest in learning, which should be honored by everyone, just turns out to be only a handful of people who really have that interest in learning. And actually, don't you know, having an interest in learning can actually bring a positive influence on someone else, because having an interest in learning will make a person feel and always thirsty for knowledge, always want to make a changes and even be able to develop themselves to be better. Then what needs to be emphasized is that all of all of that could happen based on their own sake, on them who have a high interest in learning, of course. And so now I think you might be concerned that having a interesting in learning is important, but we also know that not everyone has the interest in learning, isn't it? And then I will tell you this: in order to have an interest in learning, we must strengthen the intrinsic motivation that exists within each of us. There are a few things that you should thinking about. The first is you have to find out the autonomy of yourself. What it means by autonomy? It means that the experience we want to feel that we have the power to change our destiny, that we have some kind of control in our lives. We can control what we do without coercion. In terms of learning something, when you can choose to learn what kind of material you want to, or through what learning method do you prefer, that's all can make you feel that you have autonomy. So it is important that learning is an activity that you really want and you really need to do, not by a compulsion. And the second is competence. Are you good at certain subjects because you like? Are you good because you like the subjects, or do you like a subject because you feel you are mastering at the subjects? Apparently, intrinsic motivation will increase when you are good at doing something. For example, when you are good at math, you will enjoy math. And if you are not good at math, maybe you will be a maybe mathematic will be a subject that you find unpleasant at all. That's what usually happens in learning. A lot of frustrations happen because you feel left too far behind. So the key is, yeah, you do have to learn the basic concept of the subjects, and it does take a long time, take a lot of time. However, we have to remember that to be good at certain subjects, sometimes it takes more more time for ourselves. Developing skill and knowledge require a process, of course. The process might be suffered, uncomfortable, but at the end, when you have got the understanding from the subject that you want to learn, it is satisfying, isn't it? And then the last the last things that you have to thinking about is about relatedness. As a human being, we always need relationship with other humans. We need to have a group as a place for us to have a sense of belonging. And actually, intrinsic motivation does not require a social elements, because it is not an absolute requirement. But when we add a social element, it will strengthen the intrinsic motivation. For instance, when you have a work from your favorite drawing, it is if it is shared with your friends, it of course it will increase your intrinsic motivation, because you will feel happy and feel appreciated by it. After all, interest in learning actually brings a lot of benefit to our life. Therefore, even in general, some of us are naturally not have that kind of interesting in learning. We could obtain it. We could we could evoke the interest in learning by our intrinsic motivation. The things that you should aware with is learning is the positive activity with no deficiency. Yeah, I think that's all of my speech. Thank you very much for the attention.
Okay, thank you, Ferlanda, for your presentation. I really agree that everyone must have an interest to study. I mean, yeah, in learning. I really agree with that. Okay, so is there anyone who wants to give a feedback or ask a question? You can raise your hand, please. Okay, Fahrizal, you can open your mic and yeah, just speak.
All right, thank you, Rizki. So yeah, I do agree with Ferlanda that for some people maybe learning can be a form of mandatory, and here the learning interest is really important to encourage and strengthen people's thoughts in learning. And the second is I want to give my comment about the performance. I think uh, Ferlanda's performance is very nice. Ferlanda looks really confident with while speaking, and yeah, that's all that I can deliver. Uh, Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rizki Muhammad Ramadhani, and allow me to be the moderator on this discussion today. Okay, today we have a speaker from Miss Riski Dwi Firmansyah. In this time, she will give a presentation about education gap in pandemic era. Okay, let's start the presentation. Miss Rizki, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So let me start my presentation. Before that, I will introduce myself. My name is Riski Dwi Firmansyah, and I'm Universitas Negeri Malang. So the title of my presentation is Does Online Learning Make Education Gap Bigger? So um, before jump to the main content, uh, I want to let you know that before the pandemic era, the education in Indonesia already has like some gaps, and then um, this is four of the the source of that gaps. So the first source is limited skill teaching staff. So as we know, many teacher is prefer to teach in the area which has um, an easy access. So so many teachers do not want to teach in the remote area for a long time, right? So that makes the limited skill teaching staff. And then the second source of uh, education gaps is limited learning sources. So in the remote area, it is hard to find learning sources. So the students, many students cannot learn as well as the student in urban area. So the third one is inadequate facilities and infrastructure. However, the students are also need a good facilities and infrastructure to improve their ability in learning, right? And then the last one is high cost of education. Um, so according to According to blogs.worldbanks.org, 62.5 million students in Indonesia have to join online learning since the COVID-19 pandemic has happened in Indonesia in March 22. So this is the starting point of the happening of education gaps in the pandemic era. Um, these three are the main supporting for online learning. The first one is computer or smartphone. We, as a student who join the online learning, must be need a computer or smartphone to join the learning activity. And then beside that, we need Wi-Fi connection or internet data quota, yeah, to join and access the material that the teacher has given to the student. So those needs can cause the education gaps bigger. Why? So beside the causes that have already exist before the pandemic, those needs also can be the source of gaps maker. The key in this topic is inequality. For example, the student in urban area, they can get a good connection, a good smartphone, a good computer to access all the material so that they can learn better, so they can accept the material in a good way. However, in for the students in the remote area, they are hardly to find the good connection, the good what is that, the good gadgets to access the learning sources, so that they cannot uh, have a learning activities as good as the students in the urban area. So in conclusion, we can see that the online learning can make the education gaps bigger than before. I think that's all for me. Thank you for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Rizki. Well, that's an excellent presentation by Ms. Rizki. Okay, everyone, if you have any question or feedback, you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Then I will call your name. Yes, please, Mr. Ferlanda Firdausi.
Okay, I would like to give my feedback toward the risky presentation, and I do agree that online learning make education gap bigger. Why? Because a lot of bad impact that happens to the students, like like they have less facility, limited learning sources, and high cost of education. It will evoke the bigger gap for the education for themselves, and that's the worst thing, I think. And then about the performance of Riski Dwi, I think she's well prepared on this presentation, and and that's great job. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ferlanda, for your feedback. I will close this discussion this time. Okay, everyone. Once again, thank you for attending this session. We have listened to excellent presentation from Ms. Rizki. Thank you, and sorry if I, as moderator, made a mistake. And see you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you all and welcome to our session. My name is Fina Jaliilah and I'm the today's moderator. We will have one presentation for the session. The presentation will last 8 minutes, and we have a question and answer in the last 2 minutes of the presentation. Our presenters today is Mr. Rizki Muhammad Ramadhani, student from Universitas Negeri Malang. He is going to present her presentation entitled The Bad Impacts of Technology Abuse Cyberbullying. Okay, for Mr. Rizki Muhammad Ramadhani, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to present about cyberbullying and its effect. The title of my presentation is The Bad Impact of Technology Abuse, Cyberbullying. Let me introduce myself. My name is Riski Muhammad Ramadhani, and I come from speaking academic purpose of Ringdi. Okay, let's begin. Why you? Why are you still alive? Go kill yourself. You are so ugly. These are some example of words that can hurt other people and often appears in cyberspace and so on. Let's start with the definition of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is aggressive and purposeful behavior carried out by a group or individual using electronic media repeatedly from time to time against someone who is considered no easy to resist the action. When teenagers start to get to know cyberspace and they make embracing and hurtful word to other, it is an act of cyberbullying. I'm sure everyone here know and has heard of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is very disturbing and makes people feel uncomfortable about what people do to them. Although this disorder come from gadget, victim of cyberbullying can be very afraid to meet friends, go to school, and even be afraid to talk about problem with their parents. If this is the case, the future impact will be fatal, starting from having an eating disorder, not wanting to make friends, frustration, depression, self-harm, and suicide. Meanwhile, the current new normal life where children study online can certainly increase the change of cyberbullying. The child who is the victim may be eager to avoid this. I want to leave my smartphone to calm myself down, but the tasks always come every day. Not to mention the proof of the child's participant in learning. Sometimes the teacher asks to send a photo of the child, and once again, this can create space for cyberbullying. Children can feel more depressed if they experience this. Here, I will discuss several factors that will occur if cyberbullying occur continuously to someone for a long time. The first is about physical and even mental health. A victim of cyberbullying will have a greater risk of suffering from stress, depression, loss of confidence, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD in adult. This is, of course, will have an impact on the stimulant of your immune system being disturbed. And the second, being a close person or introvert. All kind of fear and anxiety experience, the victim can withdraw from the social environment. He can even choose to drop out of school and be alone at home because of cyberbullying. Thus, the victim chooses not to have friends anymore and is increasingly aloof. Okay, the next thing is being ostracized from the environment. Even though cyberbullying is done through the internet or social media, people who live in real life can see it. They can see firsthand the malicious comment that attack. In fact, these people can stay away from or even attack in real life. And finally, the victims are not only exposed to cyberbullying, but also physical bullying from the social environment. Okay. Lastly, this is the worst effect of cyberbullying. The desire to commit suicide will grow for the victim who has been completely mentally crushed. Victim of cyberbullying will feel hurt, angry, afraid, helpless, hopeless, isolated, ashamed, and even feel guilty about themselves. Uh, if this happens repeatedly and get worse, the victim may have thought of suicide. Now, uh, you know that cyberbullying is very dangerous and no longer a trivial matter. So if you see an act of cyberbullying, immediately alert the attacker and protect that victim. Come on, start using the internet wisely because mental health is important. Okay, lastly, I have a very popular word. If you can't be intelligent, be a good person. By being a good person, at least you have played a role in preventing cyberbullying. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Rizki Muhammad Ramadhani. For the other audience, if you have any question or feedback, you can raise your hand. Okay, Ms. Riski Dwi Firmansyah.
Okay. I think I will give feedback. I agree with Rizki Muhammad presentation that we have to use internet wisely, really wisely, because um, probably what we think do not hurt us, maybe for other people it hurts for them, so it can affect to their mental health, or the worst case they will probably doing suicide. So that is, yeah, as internet users we do not hope for that, right? So overall the presentation is good. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Riski Dwi Firmansyah. Okay, I want to give feedback too to Mr. Rizki Muhammad. That cyberbullying is now happening a lot and has resulted in bad things for someone. Even though we have tried to prevent it, but we don't know that it is an external factor that we cannot prevent. So I hope you all can be wise in using social media to avoid cyberbullying. Okay, that's all for the presentation. Thank you for the participant and presenter. For all the presenters and participants, may go back to main room for the closing. Thank you.